Okay, so we want to knit our own garment, and the first thing that hopefully you watched and you've sorted out is to know your own sizing. So to know the actual figures and measurements of the garment that you want to knit. The second thing then is that lovely word, the T word. I've already done a video on the T word, which was for beginners, but yeah, it's for anyone really. But if I talk about the T word as if talking to more experienced knitters, like I do in my professional finishing workshops, and I can ask questions. So when I hold my workshops, I can ask questions about tension, and we can gauge, and we can do experiments. It's a bit tricky here, so I don't know who I'm talking to, whether this will ping with you, as it were. So yeah, it's a bit tricky. I am used to talking to people about this in real life. But tension in the broadest sense, or the basic sense, not broadest, basic sense, is how many stitches to 10 centimeters, and that determines the size of your garment. So in the other video, we talked about knowing the size of your garment. The next thing is knitting to that size, which is sometimes the tricky bit. Now, I know the theory on tension, and in the professional finishing workshop, I repeat that theory. And over time, so I've taken these workshops now for years, I mean regularly, the last 14 years, I've been doing lots of professional finishing workshops. And just recently, I've noticed something, because you can say the rules, you can say this is how it's meant to be, and then you see what people actually do, how they oh god, I can't think of the word, how they approach it, and it's really interesting. It's really interesting. And yeah, do you want to know a secret? I don't think I understand tension either. It's a bit like how your heart pumps blood around your body. Well, I can give you the theory on it. I don't think I could. I mean, I did biology as an A-level, so I probably could once upon a time. But then in practice, we just do it, don't we? And I feel that's a bit the same with tension. There is a theory to it, and then people just knit. And I don't mean you just knit. I mean, yeah, you can measure your tension square and all the rest of it, but sometimes those garments fit and sometimes they don't. This is a very helpful video, isn't it? By saying, yeah, sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. So I will give you the theory on it, but I also think maybe we should just relax about it. So there are patterns that I do. So because of that, there are patterns that I do which take into consideration that sometimes the tension might not be there, and that's okay. Something like this tank top, the Heaton tank top, yeah, you do have to watch your tension a little bit. But a drop shoulder one, like the Popperwell, you don't have to worry about it, in the fact that if you're a little bit out, it's a drop shoulder, so you're not going to necessarily notice that inch difference. I don't know if I'm breaking so many rules here. I should be serious about this and say, yes, get your tension exactly right. And yes, get your tension exactly right. Do your tension square, sort it out. I do think that's important. Do your tension square before you start. And I will show you some figures on what happens if you don't. But I also think, yeah, just go for it. That's a terrible thing to say, isn't it? Yes, because I have found in the workshops, I get people to do, spoiler alert, a tension square before they come to the workshop, and I spoiled it now for people that want to come to the workshops in the future. And we measure those tensions, and I have found in those workshops that half the people get the pretend tension, so whatever it's supposed to be. There isn't a set tension, but there's always going to be two people that get exactly the same and two people that will get So half, because I keep the workshops at 4 or 5 people, keep them nice and small. So half usually get what's bang on tension, and half will either get it really loose or really tight. So there's always going to be those people who knit who never have a problem with the size of their garment. It's always right to what the pattern says. And then there's always going to be some whose garment will be bigger or smaller than what it says. So what does that mean in terms of figures if we're going to do this properly, rather than being naughty? So if we did this properly, say you wanted to knit this Ravenscar cardigan. This is a drop shoulder, so that's okay if you're out a little bit, but that doesn't matter. We want to get it right. So the tension on this one is 18 stitches per 10 centimeters, and I am going to do a close-up video to show you how to measure your tension. So for sake of argument, we're going to knit the first size, which comes up at 100 centimeters or 39¼ inches if we get those 18 stitches. If we get 17 stitches, which means it's looser, our garment is going to be 107 centimeters or 42¼ so 3 inches or 7 centimeters bigger. So even though we're 1 stitch, so it's 18 stitches is what's recommended, we're 1 stitch out at 17 stitches, it still makes a difference overall of 3 inches. Now if you do this garment and you think, oh, that's okay, I don't mind if it's a bit bigger, it's a loose fitted garment anyway, I'll just make the sleeves shorter, then that's fine. But if you had worked out that you want it to be at 100 centimeters and it comes up a little bit bigger, then you're probably going to be disappointed. And so that's why it's good to know your tension before you start a garment, because it is investment of time and money. So you want to know what your end result is before you start. So if we went the other way and it was 19 stitches instead of 18 stitches, so tighter tension, your finished garment would be 95½ centimeters or 37½ inches. So that's a difference of 2 inches the other way. So it'll be 2 inches smaller. So if you think 2 inches overall, it's going to be a little bit here and there. So again, if it's a little bit of a tighter tension, it means it's going to be smaller. And if that's what you're expecting, that's okay, you've prepared for it. But again, it's all about knowing, it's kind of knowing the rules, and then it's up to you if you just want to ignore them or go for them. But I think it's good to know before you start what your tension is and what the garment, whether it's going to be on them, it's going to be bang on hopefully, or whether it's going to be a little bit looser or a little bit tighter. Now if it is a little bit looser, so there's 17 stitches, so it's 5mm needles that is what's recommended, and you're coming up at 17 stitches, that means you go down a needle size. So you would try 4.5mm to try and get the 18 stitches if you wanted to get the correct tension, obviously, which hopefully that's what we want to do. So 17 stitches is a looser tension and you go down a needle size. If you've got 19 stitches rather than the 18 stitches on the 5mm needles, you go up a needle size because you've got a tighter tension. So that means 5.5mm. Now, you might look at your knitting and it might not look tight and it might not look loose. Now, I've discussed this in another interview video. It's not how it looks, it's the stitches per 10 centimeters. So if you do it at 17 stitches looser or 19 stitches tighter, but it doesn't look looser or tighter, then don't change the needle size. It's a case of either knowing that it's going to be bigger or smaller, or using that yarn for another pattern that has that tension, and then looking for a yarn that's got the same tension as the pattern. So this is a little cheeky video. I probably should do a more professional one about tension, and maybe I will. But I will do a close-up on how to measure tension. Okay,